Rocky. I'm the owner, founder of the brand Lemon Tree out of California, out of Santa Cruz. Started in 2012, and I was the first logo-based cannabis brand in Santa Cruz in California. We started kind of the prepackaged cannabis goods. We brought in artists like Jimbo Phillips that are iconic with the Santa Cruz skate culture, and we put a stamp on our cannabis as clean cannabis before regulations and testing were even a thing. So, been around a while. Let's see. We started cannabis because I was working at a Santa Cruz hydroponic store. We were selling all kinds of different grow equipment, this and that, but there was a lot of pesticides and herbicides that weren't necessarily something that you'd want to be in a product that's smoking. So the start of it really was a cannabis brand that's clean cannabis. So we were one of the first people to start testing with Santa Cruz Laboratories before testing was really even in regulation. We have unique terpene profiles, and everything that we've done with the brand is all about the experience. We have won awards up and down from Washington to California, Emerald Cup. You know, it's the cannabis brand that I started is really about the experience of terpenes and what the cannabis plant can really produce, not just THC, but unique terpene profiles and different cannabinoids, and how the industry has really started to pressure people to grow for THC and highest potency, when really terpenes and blends of cannabinoids in your plant are the main focus of what I like to do with our brand, Lemon Tree. I'm going to talk a little bit about the market in California. It's a very advanced market that has now seen a lot of overregulation and overtaxation, and now has boosted the black market economy. And as the markets emerge here, we all know Germany just opened up, quite large country that's going to start having a huge ripple effect for a bunch of other countries. But if you're in the cannabis space and you're starting a brand or you have a company, right now is a time that I would say to take advantage of, because you have a real chance right now to carve out a pathway and carve out a real niche place for yourself in the marketplace. Enjoy the moment right now, because this is the best and was my favorite time in the cannabis space early on in the emerging markets. So as you start your brand or your business, just remember to enjoy these moments, because this is the funnest time in the cannabis space if you're in it. Cannabis in California started out of Santa Cruz. If you don't know, the first state and the first descheduling of cannabis was out of Santa Cruz, and there's a lot of credit to WAM. It was Women's Advocate for Medical Marijuana. It was the first club in the United States. It was there to actually give free weed to people that actually needed it for cancer or health issues, and they were out of Santa Cruz. And like I said early on, it's about the plant and helping and really what the plant can do for you. And as the market matured, today, WAM, that started the whole movement, isn't even allowed or hasn't been given access to get a license, and they can't even provide cannabis to people anymore. So as you traverse this cannabis space over here in the European markets, there's a lot of things that California has done wrong with the overtaxation, over-regulations, and politics, and the political system has really gotten in a lot of the way of what cannabis really started as. It's gone through a lot of different phases. The 215 to the present, it's a huge change where it was a non-for-profit scripts, cannabis for the people. Now it's big corporate conglomerates, business corporations coming in to kind of take what the counterculture has created and try to monopolize it in a corporate machine. Here in Spain, it's cool to see that even though there is no cannabis sales here, there is a huge pathway that's been carved out. You see the seeds, the nutrients, there's some CBD products, and it's a testament to show even though you can't buy cannabis here, there's 20,000 plus people that have come to this event just to participate in this culture of cannabis and what it can provide for people. It's a true testament to the power and the movement that cannabis can present for people. I'm out here this week too with Silent Seeds. We're launching our seed line with them. As the markets emerge here, we're bringing Lemon Tree brand and our genetics out here to not only Spain, but as other emerging countries and regions that are starting to grow. We also are looking to partner and go with Choco, one of our partners, to Germany and do some grows out there. Let's see. I was going to open it up to some Q&A, and let's see. Does anybody have any questions about the California cannabis space or branding or anything? No? Okay. I guess that's pretty much it then, unless if anybody, yes, go ahead. Yeah. Lemon Tree, we created Lemon Tree, 12 years ago, and it was about the terpene profiles and how the terpenes and the cannabinoids interact with each other. And as we grow and expand on that, the kiwi tree is unique terpenes. We went after profiles that mimic fruits. So we do a lot of phenohunting and breeding to recreate terpene profiles that are familiar with people. So we have blueberry tree, kiwi tree, pineapple tree, strawberry tree, grape tree. All these new strains that we're releasing taste just like the fruits that they're called after. And so we hunt high terpene profiles, not high THC profiles, and we really focus on the terpene experience when smoking. Yes?
Are people in California obviously consuming more flower than vapes, like in European countries?
Flower is always going to be the biggest consumable in the market. There are trends where you see vapes rise and pens rise and dabs, but as those trends start to rise, they always fall back down, and flower is probably about 75 to 80% of the market still in California.
What do you personally think, for example, about a CBD flower with some isolated or distillate, with some isolated cannabinoid like THCB or Delta 8 THC? What do you think personally about this new?
I see a lot of people that are spraying different cannabinoids and synthetically derived cannabinoids, trying to skirt around laws to get to market so you can still get high smoking flower. If it tastes good and the experience is there, I have no problem with it. But at the end of the day, you're recreating cannabinoids to try to create a new THCA to get you high. So what we've seen in California is this huge volatile market where it goes from Delta 8 to Delta 10 to THCP to HHP, and they keep chasing new cannabinoids, and the governing bodies keep banning those new ones, and it's just whack-a-mole. So at the end of the day, it comes full circle where you're going to come right back to THC. So yes, there is a place for it as long as the ethics are there, and clean cannabis, hemp is good smoke, and you have clean oil. Now, what we see in the States now is dirty pesticide distillate being sprayed onto hemp flower. So it gets you high, but those long-term effects of smoking pesticides, which is unregulated in the black market because no one's testing that stuff, we still are yet to see. But I would be a little skeptic unless you really know what's being sprayed on your flower.
Please, one more last question.
Sure.
If you people from overseas are aware, if you people overseas are aware about the problems in Europe from the black market, which are CBD flowers contaminated with synthetic forms of THC. I'm not talking about isolate or distillate. I'm talking about synthetic, which is lethal, and over 60 people died in 3 years. People think they're buying high THC weed, but it's just the CBD synthetic weed sprayed on the market with Chinese synthetic THC. It can be lethal, and it's been written false literature in the psychiatry. And this is one of the biggest problems. Have you heard of this overseas?
No, I haven't heard of this. I know that there is the chase for synthetically made cannabinoids to get you high, but I know there are products that are made in China like Spice and all these other ones that are.
Those are the molecules that are being sprayed right now on the CBD flowers, and you can isolate even terpenes, and you can do a California.
So that's another reason why it's so important to start legalizing cannabis now, because of these knockoff cannabis brands are trying to fill the holes where if we just legalize the plant, we won't have any of these issues with any of these health concerns trying to fill a void when the plant's right there the whole time. Legalize the cannabis plant and you won't be getting poisoned by trying to mimic and trying to recreate the cannabis that is already grows naturally all across the world. But no, I haven't heard of that. That's very interesting. We don't see that in California because it's so prevalent. Yeah. Right now in California, the weed prices are down to almost $50 a pound for outdoors. So that's probably cheaper than you can get the synthetic stuff for. Any other questions?
Hi.
Yes.
I've been smoking since chronic and critical mass, and if you buy here in Barcelona and you get American strains, for me, they all seem the same. But if you make it yourself at home and you clean it up, you can see the change. But how do you prefer all these American strains despite of, I don't know, Hindu Kush and White Widow, Super Silver Haze, which in the 90s they were really, really great? Why does people change their tastes and flavors? Because they are childish. They want gummies instead of real weed.
So your question, if I'm
Why pineapple? Why chocolate? Why strawberry instead of a really Afghan, a really Kush? That's cheaper to play like adults.
So there's, in California right now, there's a huge movement for candies and gas. That's the profiles. But to be honest, there's a huge push for some of the original strains as the Kush, the hazes, all those things. But a lot of those genetics have been lost in the States, and people don't have those profiles like they once did. Me and my brand, for what we do, we hunt terpene profiles, and we wanted to create a nice pairing, so we went after fruits. But yes, there's nothing wrong with the original Kushes and the hazes and the Afghans. Those are all great as well.
Greatest. For example, if you go to a shisha lounge here in Barcelona or in Berlin or in Turkey, all people that really smoke, they always choose the same flavors, the old flavors. Only the little children, they are mixing one thing that is really mixed. If you, I don't know, you choose a black tobacco and it doesn't have really nothing of tobacco, and you have a lot of terpenes, a lot of perfumes, and they have to mix it with blonde tobacco to make the mix so you can smoke it. And it's too much perfumes in the same place, so it's confusing. I want just a cream caramel. I don't want a coffee with chocolate and cinnamon. I just want a black coffee. New people have new tastes because it's the future.
I think as long as you're true to the plant and the plant's growing its own unique cannabinoids and its own unique terpene profiles, there's a huge push too in America right now where there's machines infusing cannabis that has no taste, that they're growing a huge amounts of this flower that has no terpene profiles. It's almost dead tasting weed, but they pump terpenes into the weed, and they're using candy terpenes, they're using bubble gum, they're using marshmallow, and that is one of the big rising trends right now. But once again, this is because people don't know how to grow weed correctly, and they're now fixing a problem where if they just grew weed the right way with the proper nutrients and the proper regimens, that you bring out those terpene profiles on the genetic lineage, not just growing weed to grow quantity over quality and then reintroducing a botanical terpene to bring the flavor in. So you're trying to fix a mistake with, botanical terpenes when you can just grow weed correctly and the terpene profiles will come out.
So when you were talking about WAM and they give weed to people with
Yep.
diseases, how you have discussion or an argument with doctors in America when they may, if the question is, we need a substitute of morphine and all these derivatives of morphine that you have in the States that we don't have here, that they are killing every children in every state. Can you, ¿cómo se dice? Confesar? Can you agree with a doctor that maybe weed is better in some places in the oncology level?
Yeah, weed is a great remedy for many, many things, but the issue that we have in America is that it's a Schedule III drug. It's in the same category as LSD, crack, heroin. Not heroin is a less scheduled drug than weed is.
Less.
So as right now, there's a huge push as our election comes up to deschedule, or not deschedule, but reschedule. It's going to be moved to Schedule I. And then when it moves to Schedule I, then doctors and pharmacies will be able to start prescribing it, and it will change the whole landscape of cannabis in America. But doctors are afraid to talk about it because they can lose their licenses, they can be blackballed for talking about cannabis, and they're not willing to go out on a limb yet to start really pushing cannabis. But I think the majority of the public knows someone by firsthand or secondhand that cannabis has helped them with their ailments, whether it's sleep disorder or chronic pain, arthritis. There's so many things that cannabis does help and heal that if it would be hard pressed not to know someone in immediate family or friends that cannabis has helped. And as it does get rescheduled, a lot of the older people the young people all know this, but the older generation are still in that mindset where it is an illegal plant, an illegal drug, and they still don't really want to take that leap because they want to follow the laws. So as it gets rescheduled and doctors do prescribe it or recommend it, there will be a huge push on that replacement of opioids and other drugs that cannabis can come in and fill.
Okay, so maybe the companies in America that have the patents of morphine and those, it will be very difficult to change and substitute. I don't know, HHC is the substance that they sell here, like the hashish.
Mm-hmm.
It has a medical appliance. It's made for something really medical or just to make money?
HHC,
Yeah.
if I believe what we're talking about, is a cannabinoid that is derived from CBD.
Yeah.
And so what people are doing is taking CBD isolate, changing the molecules, and recreating different cannabinoids. You change one bond or one structure, and you're turning it from CBD to THC to HHC, but really you're recreating cannabinoids that are trying to mimic THCA.
Yeah, it's
THC.
It's like making a deconstruction of something you want to build again.
Yeah. You're manipulating something because you can't have one thing, but you're gonna play whack-a-mole. Like it's difficult and frustrating because what you're gonna see here is all these new cannabinoids and all these new things coming out, and people and brands are gonna try to jump on this trend, but if you're a brand and you want to go and jump into this market, you have to buy packaging, testing, labeling. You get all this stuff. The next day, the regulators, okay, HHC is gone. Now you have tens of thousands of dollars in packaging and stuff
You're
that you
out of
can't.
business.
So at the end of the day, if you want to get rid of all this stuff, you just need to legalize cannabis, and then all of those cannabinoids that are being created from distillate or isolate from CBD, it's all gonna go away. We saw a huge price at one point. The HHC and some of those unique cannabinoids were going for $18,000, $20,000 a kilo. Now they're down to $500 to $1,000 because no one wants to buy that stuff in America anymore.
Okay, so do we have any chance against pharmacies and doctors to be officially really quality and numbered for therapeutic medical appliances? Or we are just smokers in the park, dealers in doing black market business forever?
That's a good question. I don't have the answer to that one. I think there's going to have to be some type of intermediation between the pharmaceutical brands and the cannabis brands, because I don't think the pharmaceutical companies can do it without legacy growers. They don't understand cannabis. They think it's just, you see in California in particular, like I was saying, the corporations that are coming in, and some of them are the pharmacy and the pharmaceutical type corporations, where they think it's about weight. We need to grow X amount of pounds. But really, they're not doing the work with the different cannabinoid blends in the plant and the different terpenes. Terpenes are also the vessel for cannabinoids. So it is a scary moment when you think if the pharmacy companies can do it all by themselves, why were they going to need legacy cannabis operators? So, but we've been around now for 12 years and we haven't seen any large-scale corporations be able to grow good weed. And their weed, they might sell it for the cheapest on the market, but the consumers are becoming educated. So when you go buy weed from a store, you want to buy local, small scale, small farmer, organics and stuff like that. But in the space in California with the overtaxation and regulation, what's happening is they're putting those small farmers out of business because big corporations will grow weed, give it to the clubs, say, here, pay me when you can, and they're on net 90, net 120, 6 months down the road, they don't mind if they get paid because they have all the money in the world. Mom and pop growers and stuff, they're paycheck to paycheck. They need to pay for their harvest. They can't wait 6 months. They already waited 6 months to grow the plant. So when you shop, I think it comes back to us. The consumers need to know who they're buying from and what they're buying, and that's how we protect small-scale farmers and not the big pharma companies like that. You had a question over here?
Do you feel or do you know about the hemp farming bill which was written in 2018, and do you think it's going to be any threat about the definition of hemp and the products that, or the short question is, do you know about the threatening that it might come to the seed industry because of the hemp definition, which is planned to be after the hemp farming bill to be every substance that contains a 0.2% or less total THC, not just THC, total THC, meaning THCA, THCP, anything, and that might make the cannabis seeds illegal if they are coming from a plant which had more than 0.2 THC. Do you know something about this in the seeds industry in the US?
Yeah, I'm pretty well versed on the Farm Bill. For example, right now there's a huge push for THCA flower, and when I say THCA flower, it's the same thing as normal flower. Labs have been converting with the gastronomy testing. So when you test cannabis flower, fresh, frozen, or right off the thing, usually it's below 1% THC, because THCA converts to THC, so the labs are doing the conversion for you. So right now there's a huge push. If you harvest correctly, you can have your cannabis normal flower testing at below the 0.3% THC. And each state's different, so right now it's total THC, but that doesn't include THCA. But there are states that say you need to have, it's your total combined THCA and THC, but there are some loopholes. That in Oregon and Washington, I believe, they want to do multiple tests at different times to see if it spikes high, where in California, it's one pre-harvest test at the end that you need to show. So I'm not sure if this is going to be a long-lasting thing, but once again, this is just a loophole someone found because of the overtaxation and regulation in the cannabis place. People are looking to create weed for cheaper prices to, get away from the licensed cannabis. But it's a huge marketplace right now. I would say the majority of the weed that's grown legally in licensed California grows is going out the back door as THCA flower across the country. So there are ways to grow cannabis correctly to do it as THCA, but I would say for the most part, people are just using that loophole and selling normal weed as THCA flower. But I don't think so, and I think as it gets rescheduled, there's going to be two pathways. You're going to be ever to grow CBD as THCA the correct way, in the correct styles with the proper testing, less regulations. And then when cannabis gets rescheduled, it's going to be more on a pharma side. So there's going to be heavy regulation, and where most people are going to go is heavy regulation and taxation, or a less taxed, less regulated space. Well, right now, the people that have the money and the lobbyists, the cannabis people are broke. They got no money. The government's taken all of our money and beat us over the head. The hemp guys, those are big ag guys. They have all the money in the world right now, and who do you think is lobbying to keep that THCA and that farm bill as it is? We are coming up on an election in California or in America. We're having two proxy wars, Ukraine and Israel. I don't think the farm bill is not going to be changed for a long time.
One question. So let me get this straight. How do you deal in America if you here in Barcelona or other places in Spain, you go to a cannabis association, okay, if the police comes and you have weed, and one is THC and the other one is CBD, they put all in the same bag and they weigh it, and you have 200 grams of weed, and your taxes and your la multa, no sé cómo se dice en inglés, is going to be high because it's for the police, everything got THC. So in America, how do you deal with this? You have analysis, you have independent labs to just have a new interpretation apart from the police labs.
Yeah, well, if the police want to seize the product, they're going to seize the product. But knowing the laws and the regulations and the code is going to be helpful. We do sell THC as our brand as well, and when we sell it, we know the law. We put our attorney opinion letter. We do independent COAs from labs with the testing. We even put the law of the Farm Bill written in. So you have multiple documents, multiple COAs, multiple things. You even have your lawyers, you use the right shipping methods. It's a process, but at the end of the day, doing that is a lot cheaper than selling THC. Does that make sense?
It's cheaper? I don't understand.
Well, if you're growing THCA in a hemp farm, it's a lot cheaper than growing cannabis in a regulated facility. At the end of the day, in a regulated cannabis facility, you're taxed, I think, 60%, where growing it as CBD, there's very little taxes and very, very little regulation. So that's why a lot of people are moving to THCA, go get a hemp license instead of this over-taxated, regulated cannabis market, and you treats it like normal ag. There's no market that is treated like cannabis right now in California. Even the tobacco industry isn't taxed like us. And if you want to even look at something crazier, right now inflation has hit every product in America, but weed is the only thing that's been going down in price. It's such a crazy time that people are going out of business because they can't pay taxes, and they're fire selling whole crops because of the regulations and overtaxation.
So the demon still being IRS and the taxation. So
I think it's
the way to
politicians that are writing our laws that have no idea what they're writing the law about. They have no idea that this is a plant, and it's really designer agriculture. It's a good that goes bad. It takes 6 months to grow, and it only has a shelf life of 6 months. So by the time, with all these regulations and taxations and testing and all this stuff, it's very difficult to get product to market.
Yeah, so if that's right, how you convince these people that nobody's driving?
So right now, as your market emerges, I would say get involved in the political system. Go to meetings, go to wherever you can, and make sure your voice is heard, and make sure that the people that are writing the laws or helping write the laws know what they're talking about. Don't have people in there that have no clue, making choices for cannabis that they don't smoke and they don't know nothing about. Any other questions? Yep.
Hi, two questions. I'm from Italy. First one is, which were the steps, where you're from California, right? Which were the steps from where the weed was not legal to legal? It started from citizen or from politician or from movements or something like that. And the second question, which is connected with before, was is it legal in California to drive while under the effect of marijuana? And if not, how do they test you? Because we have a very big problem in Italy where the only test that they can make is the salivar one. But the problem is that the salivar one finds weed about 3 days before you have 3 days stance. So that's the very big problem in Italy, and we have so many more, but I was curious about that. Thank you.
It does happen where police will pull you over, and I think the most times that you're going to get hit for that driving while intoxicated on weed is if you're smoking while driving. There are some tests that they do there, but they're all inadmissible in court. I know very few people that have been hit with those tickets or fines, but if you take it to court, they get dismissed right away because of all the testing. Remind me, your first question was about the beginning of cannabis. The movement starts, it always starts with weed for the people. You want to grow it in your backyard. You want to help your neighbors. You want to help your relatives that have issues. You want to grow something clean. It starts there, and as it grows, it goes to money. How can I monetize what I'm doing? And then the government sees that and says, how can I monetize it? So first they want nothing to do with it, then they see you making the money, and then they're gonna try to come after you and hit you and try to take whatever your profits you're making. If you're not paying your due to the taxes and IRS, then that's where it's at right now. And I think there's a huge conversation being had right now in California on how to lower taxes. If the states want more money, they need to lower the taxes because they're just boosting the black market. They're pushing everyone to the black market, and then you get no money on taxes, where if you just made the taxes reasonable, there would be way more weed being funneled through the stores, and then that tax revenue would be collected. So we're still in a really infancy stage of cannabis, and we're still figuring out how to regulate it and how to operate, but there's still a lot of work to be done to find the right pathway. There's no state that's really got it down right now. I think we got maybe time for one more question. Yeah.
Thank you. When do you think is gonna be cannabis 100% legal, even in California? When I mean 100%, I'm talking even federally, even cannabis oil in hospitals, and even driving and etc. All these things. When do you think is going to be federally and accepted from everyone?
I think before the end of this year, we're going to see it rescheduled to Schedule 1, and that's when it will become legal. It will still be a Schedule 1 drug, but I think that's when we're going to see it this year. Yep. All right. We're seeing right now federal task forces and coming around to our licensed facilities because they are trying to get a handle on what they know it's being rescheduled. So they're sending all the alphabet agencies out right now to all these facilities, getting educated on how everyone operates. So we see it from that to the politics and the political system. So we all see the movement right now happening. Yeah. All right. Thank you.